Every once in a while you find yourself in a situation where you may just have to move on. It may be time to just cut ties. It may be time to just see what the future looks like in a new environment or situation. That happens for a variety of different reasons as we go through life. Employment, for some people, relationships, but it happens. And when it does, oftentimes people find themselves in a better situation because they allowed themselves to grow and they didn't handcuff themselves to a toxic or environment that just didn't have the probability of them actually seeing this type of growth potential. And that's what the Bulls find themselves in. Unfortunately, Lonzo Ball again has been rumored to have be in need of another knee surgery. Now, this comes after we've already had a plethora of other different reports. One saying that he was going to be able to start this season. That didn't happen. Gets pushed back to the mid-season, January. That doesn't happen. Gets pushed back to after the All-Star game. I believe one report said that doesn't happen. Now he may need a third surgery. It may be a 6-month recovery time with rehab. And we're talking about this being March. We're talking about right around training camp preseason. I mean, we're talking about September at this point. If my math is right. So, yeah, my math is right, right? So we're talking about a situation where he hasn't even touched the court, been able to really play 5-on-5 full contact basketball in over a year or so. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where he was not even running and jumping. Then we see the videos that he is. It may be one of those things where it's like, hey, it may be time to see what life will be like without him. And it isn't because he's a bad guy, it isn't because he's a bad player. His body hasn't held up. This is a sport. And in a sport, you get injured. Injuries happen. It's ironic and I guess coincidental that it always seems to be the same type of injuries, or at least involving the same, body part needs for at the same position, point guard for us, but it happens. And so now at this point, I think it's one of those things where AK has to make a decision. And I think the decision should be to move on. Now, what would that look like, and why would I sit there and suggest that? What it would do, it would actually instill us a sense of direction at this point, because we all know that we are 1 point guard away. How do we know this? Because we can see what a subpar point guard can do for our team. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful. I said subpar. Patrick Beverly is serviceable. He's come in with the directive and the mindset of putting these guys in their position, being that floor general for Billy Donovan, and doing the right things for the Chicago Bulls. And it's worked. The Patrick Beverly effect is clicking. Zach LaVine looks a lot better. He's actually been very, very good since Patrick Beverly's come in. Vooch is actually looking a lot better. People are being put in their natural positions. P. Willis having better games when he's absolutely trying and putting forth the effort, and you can see Patrick Beverly get into him at times to make that possible. So we see what happens when you have a floor general who can absolutely bring the right mentality to your team. Now, am I betting a farm on Patrick Beverly? No, and we never were. We never were. We were sitting there saying we need someone to help get this team together because we were 1 point guard away from being really tight contenders. And unfortunately, we were holding out hope for Lonzo, and it doesn't seem like it's going to work out. And I don't think we can actually manage. I don't think it would be good leadership from AK's perspective to not consider or not to have already started that ball of looking at what life without Lonzo would be like. Because at this point, we haven't had him for the majority of this time now. Since we've gotten this big three together, we haven't had him. And it's okay. It's okay. Again, I wish him the best. I hope for a speedy recovery. I do. But even if he comes back a little above or ahead of his time frame, I still think this is when we start looking at moving off of Lonzo Ball. It's nothing personal. It's not hate. It's all about looking out for the team and the time frame that we have. And right now, if we start planting those seeds, we get to this off season and we can start making moves to start solidifying something else. By that same time that he would have been done rehabbing, we could have already been in the process of bringing someone else in, making some moves that makes us better, and start building that chemistry and camaraderie there. Because guess what? There is a window, and that window ain't large. The league has gotten better, and you have to maximize and take advantage of all and every window that you have. Right now, the East still a little wide open. We don't know what Philly's going to do. We think everyone knows that the Bucks are really good, but are they as dominant? Like they just have the whole East on complete lock? I don't feel like they are. The Nets have totally butchered their opportunity. So they're no longer there. Miami has fallen off. All the teams that we would be worried about in the East, we've stood a fighter's chance against, and I really believe, and this is even without Lonzo Ball. So now we're not missing anything to move off of him. We're not Nothing is happening to do that, and I think it's something that we have to absolutely consider. With that being said, I want to get your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say in regards to this. Lonzo Ball has to have another surgery. The probability is high, rather. Hasn't definite, but it's high. It's a 6-month recovery time after the surgery happened. So even as we speak right now, that 6 months. What would you do if you were AK? Who would you potentially go get? I want to hear all of those things. Again, if you haven't been living under the rock, that's your boy P Kid, Winter City Breeze. Talking Chicago Sports at Chicago Talks, man. Listen, this is not a video that I wanted to make. It's not a video I wanted to make. It's not a video that I absolutely was in love with, because I had high hopes. I was one of those guys that was like, hey, you see what Patrick Beverly is doing? You see how, even though he ain't really hitting them, he's taking those open shots. He's getting into people. I thought Lonzo could bring a lot of that back. I thought Lonzo's ability with Patrick Beverly's vocal leadership within the locker room and on the floor at times, especially with that second unit, would catapult us and put us in a different realm when we all got back. So to hear that this may be something, as soon as I heard it, I was like, we got to make a move. We have to make a move. But again, I want to hear what your thoughts are. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, I'll get at you in the comments. Be in tune for our lives. We call every Bulls game. We'll be calling that game on Saturday. Love to see you in there. Peace and love.